Good morning. This is X-Pulse AI Morning Mix. It's Thursday, May 14th, 2026. Today, Microsoft prepares for a future beyond OpenAI, Anthropic turns down a China access request, and Washington turns up the heat on frontier model cyber risk. I've got Orion here, ready to jump in.
Ready, let's do it.
Reuters reported on May 13th that Microsoft is exploring acquisitions and investments in AI startups as it prepares for life after OpenAI. Orion, what's actually changing here?
It's a diversification play. Microsoft still benefits from OpenAI, but it wants more control over model roadmaps, talent, and platform leverage. Reuters says they're looking at deals, potentially through M12, to reduce reliance and speed up in-house advanced model development.
If you're building on Azure, what should you watch for? Signals this is real, not just scouting.
Watch for two things: Microsoft buying teams with frontier training chops, and tighter integration where the model is Microsoft native across Azure, Copilot, and security tooling. If new first-party models show up with preferential pricing or latency, that's the tell.
Does this imply the OpenAI partnership is weakening or just maturing?
More maturing than breaking, at least from this reporting. Microsoft is acting like any platform company. It doesn't want a single supplier for its most strategic layer. Even if OpenAI stays close, Microsoft wants options and bargaining power.
The New York Times wrote on May 12th that a representative from a Chinese think tank approached Anthropic in Singapore seeking Beijing's access to Anthropic's newest model, and Anthropic declined. Orion, what stands out?
Two things. The ask is blunt and the refusal is public. It shows how model access is becoming a geopolitical lever, right up there with chips and cloud. U.S. firms are under export control and reputational pressure, and who gets frontier capability is turning into statecraft.
Does this change anything for companies outside government? Any ripple effects?
It reinforces fragmentation. More regional routing, more compliance gates, more where are your weights hosted questions. Also, if you thought your vendor security questionnaire was long before, congratulations, it just learned new words.
Axios reported on May 13th that members of Congress pressed the White House to address cybersecurity risks from frontier models, pointing to things like mass AI-generated vulnerability disclosures. Orion, what are they pushing for?
Coordination and containment. The letter urges handling the flood problem. If models can generate or amplify vulnerability reports at scale, you need triage norms, disclosure pipelines, and support for patching critical infrastructure. It also signals they're eyeing executive action on frontier model safety.
If you run security, what's the practical move today?
Assume volume spikes. Strengthen intake and verification for vuln reports. Rehearse how you'd handle a surge, and tighten rules around internal red teaming prompts and outputs. The policy debate is messy, but the operational lesson is simple. Scale your truth filter.
TechCrunch reported on May 13th that Medicare's new access payment model creates a first-of-its-kind billing path for AI-enabled patient monitoring between visits. Orion, what's new about access?
It's a reimbursement lane for ongoing between-visit work, check-ins, care coordination, even social needs referrals, where AI systems can assist. TechCrunch notes Pair Team as an early implementer. The key shift is Medicare explicitly describing how these AI-enabled services can get paid.
So does this push healthcare AI from pilots into production?
It can. When payment becomes legible, procurement follows. Expect more clinical agent products to wrap themselves around documentation, escalation, and outreach, because those map to reimbursable workflows. The hard part won't be the model. It'll be safety, audit trails, and integration.
Oxford Economics reported on May 12th that global AI spending could rise from $340 billion in 2025 to roughly $3 trillion by 2035, about 23% of enterprise tech budgets. Orion, what's behind that kind of curve?
AI becomes the default way software gets built and run. More inference everywhere, more data plumbing, more model operations, more security and governance. Their point is that AI isn't a line item. It starts eating other line items, becoming the main driver of incremental tech spend.
They also warn benefits concentrate in major cities. Is that just economics or a policy problem?
Both. Talent clusters, data centers, and capital still bunch up geographically. Without deliberate investment, education, infrastructure, local innovation ecosystems, you get widening regional gaps. The forecast isn't only spend more, it's the map of opportunity shifts.
National Law Review wrote on May 12th that a patchwork of state and local AI hiring laws, like Illinois, Colorado, and New York City, is creating rising compliance risk for employers. Orion, what's getting complicated?
The obligations don't line up. Some places want audits, some require notices, some demand governance around automated employment decision tools. If you recruit across jurisdictions, you're suddenly managing different definitions, documentation standards, and discrimination scrutiny, often for the same model.
What's the least painful way to handle this without freezing hiring?
Centralize governance and overcomply on the fundamentals. Inventory every tool, document intended use, run bias and validity testing, and build a human review path for adverse decisions. If you do that well, adapting to each state becomes configuration, not a fire drill.
All right, let's hit a few fast movers before you run to your first meeting. Orion, what's on the board?
On May 12th, outlets covering SAP's announcement said SAP took a strategic stake in N8N, valuing it at $5.2 billion, tying workflow automation into Joule Studio. Also May 12th, eWake said Cerebras is targeting a $33 billion IPO valuation to challenge NVIDIA.
And on the AI in the wild side, voice and talent.
TechCrunch reported May 12th that voice startup Vapi hit a $500 million valuation after Amazon Ring picked its platform over 40-plus rivals. And Business Insider reported May 13th that Thinking Machines Lab saw founders and key researchers depart from Meta, OpenAI, and XA. Talent gravity is undefeated.
Give us infrastructure plus the policy footnote, then we'll land the plane.
Ars Technica on May 12th covered SPAN pitching mini data centers in homes. Liquid-cooled nodes with RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell GPUs, which is either edge compute or roommate with a server. Computer Weekly on May 13th said Zopa and ClearScore's Jobs 2030 coalition aims to train 100,000 UK finance workers. And May 13th, Missouri Independent said Missouri's AI bill faltered in committee.
That's XPulse AI Morning Mix from XPulse for Thursday, May 14th, 2026. Share it with someone who'd find it useful. See you next time.